You're listening to Uncommon Thinking, a podcast from Advertising Week. Uncommon Thinking features thought-provoking ideas directly from the stages of Advertising Week's global events. Hear from the brightest minds and thought leaders from every corner of the industry as they come together to help you navigate what's next. If you enjoy Uncommon Thinking, please consider subscribing on your podcast platform of choice, leaving a positive review, and sharing with friends and colleagues. Thanks for listening.
As younger audiences shift their attention from traditional media to streaming platforms like YouTube, brands need to pay attention to the content surrounding the ad spaces they inhabit. Research shows that advertisements surrounding premium quality content are optimal for audience engagement. In this episode of Uncommon Thinking, recorded at Advertising Week Europe 2025, we explore how fit-for-TV content is the ideal space for advertisers.
Firstly, thank you very much for having us back here. It's great to be back on stage at 180 Studios. My name is Chris, and we like to be a little bit ambitious with our allocated time that we have here. So in the next 30 minutes, we aim to share some thought leadership, some groundbreaking research results, and then close out with a stellar panel, the people behind me, to discuss our findings. Before we get to that, for those who are unfamiliar with Vevo, we are a joint venture between Sony and Universal Music Groups, and we're a video business. So we're going to start with a very quick video introduction.
Those circles and all clouds. Keep your mind on the distance. Then the devil comes up. Don't waste time on the feeling. Get the
Okay, so you may have seen someone from Vevo stand on various stages over the last few years and discuss the promise, but also the complexities of the ad-supported streaming space. And if it's at all possible, I think the disruption and the evolution we've seen over the last couple of years have made the requirements needed to navigate the landscape even more nuanced. And so a lot of the presentations that we've delivered in the last couple of years have focused predominantly around connected TV. But it's become clear to us that's only part of the picture. As consumer attitudes continue to evolve, content, culture, environment, attention, all need to be viewed more holistically. And we are seeing that evolution play out in real time when it comes to content distribution. So first Channel 4, then more recently ITV. Agreeing deals to air full-length episodes on YouTube it's an approach that mirrors how we've been operating for a number of years, but it's further recognition of the fluidity of viewing habits, the need to meet audiences where they choose to reside. Now, that not only drives incrementality for our respective propositions, it's the high quality nature of the content delivers additional value to lots of different groups. It's more value to brands because they can optimize towards better and safer environments. It's more value to viewers because of the enhanced viewing experience. It's more value to cultural institutions like the music industry, like the TV industry. It's additional revenue that is generated. That revenue then flows back into those creative sectors and ultimately supports and protects those experiences that we all love. So when we think about viewership, the question is now less about which channels, which platforms, even which devices, because content consumption is increasingly dynamic. It's about the attention economy. And with the level of choice available, what content grabs and crucially holds our attention as viewers, that is the really, really important question. So YouTube turned 20 years old this year. This is widely accepted to be the first video ever uploaded.
All right, so here we are in front of the elephants. And cool thing about these guys today is that they have really, really, really long fronts, and that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
Just love that video so much. It literally feels like a different world. I mean, in this guy's defense, in 2005, both Peter Kay and The Crazy Frog went to #1 in the charts. So, safe to say that society has moved on a little bit since then. But in the intervening 20 years, YouTube has emerged at the forefront of the viewership race, specifically when we think about younger audiences. But YouTube is often presented, to be fair, on charts like this one, as one homogenous entity, and that is not quite right. I just want to very, very briefly explain why. So there was a recent study from the University of Massachusetts. The results were published on BBC News, and they estimated that the median number of views on YouTube videos is 41, right? Just 41. And of course, an enormous amount of those videos will have little to no editing, poor quality sound, poor quality camera work. They might even just be still images. Of course, I am being slightly and deliberately disingenuous to YouTube. It is an incredibly important platform for brands, for publishers, for creators. But the sheer level of stuff across it means that different content sets need to be analysed through robust fieldwork, which we'll get to, and certain perceptions challenged to what is actually driving real value. You may also be aware that Google have changed their attribution policy around the video incentive program, meaning that any media investment placed with suppliers like ourselves via DV360 now contributes towards any YouTube buy-side commitments. That is a big deal because it means that brands and agencies are further enabled to optimize their planning around a concentration of TV-sized audiences like ours and also TV-like content, the prime time of YouTube, and therefore maximise both effectiveness and efficiency across the platform. And before I hand over, that in a nutshell is why we're here today. We've been on a research journey to prove how it's possible to do just that. It started with our partnership with Channel 4 and Flood back in 2023. We set out to understand the impact that premium content has on the effectiveness of the ads that surround it, specifically on YouTube. And we use Barb's Fit for TV principles of regulatory compliance, editorial oversight, and brand safety to make that distinction as to what constitutes premium content. And we were able to see a stark contrast in the uplift on brand metrics from those ads that surrounded Fit for TV content versus those that did not. And that laid the really, really important groundwork for what we're about to discuss.
Hello everyone, my name is Nav Gadri and I am the Senior Manager for International Research at Vevo. Premium quality content is the ideal environment for brands. Our research with Channel 4 proved that the type of content, viewing occasion and the device used all impacted the ad experience. And as Chris mentioned, we saw a clear difference in the lift in brand metrics for advertisers around premium content when compared to non-premium. Today, I'll be showing you the impact content quality can have on attention for advertising on YouTube CTV. And without giving away too many spoilers, once again, it becomes clear that premium quality content is the ideal environment for advertising. Through our partnership with Amplified Intelligence, we wanted to explore how content quality truly impacts consumer attention for advertising, as well as whether co-viewing occurred and how, if at all, ad formats influence engagement. But before I dive into the results, I'm going to define what I mean by premium and non-premium, because you'll be hearing it from me quite a lot. As Chris mentioned, for the continuation from our previous research, we used Barb's Fit for TV measurement principles to make sure that we were consistent and reliable, and we had quality kind of definition. Non-premium was split into two tiers. Mid-tier content ticked only that one box of editorial input and oversight, and that's content kind of like Mr. Beast or Chicken Shop Date. And lower tier didn't comply with any of those points listed, and that's more like your cat videos and things like that. Our biggest headline in this study is that premium content captures 40% more active attention than non-premium. And what really stands out is how much longer people focus on ads placed around premium content. 84% of the ad is watched, whether actively or passively. And this highlights how the premium environment not only holds viewers' attention, but also makes ads more effective. Ofcom have found that younger viewers are spending less time watching traditional linear TV, and they're spending around 20% of their viewing time now with YouTube. And often 18 to 34s are seen as hard to reach or low on attention. However, in our study, we found that 18 to 34 attention was 38% higher when watching ads on Vevo versus ads on non-premium content. And that was further amplified by a 28% increase when using non-skip ads. Music videos are some of the most relevant and highly viewed content among 18 to 34-year-olds. They hold the attention of younger audiences, and that makes them a highly effective way for brands to engage with this demo. We also found that co-viewing is high for premium content, with almost 3/4 of households viewing it in groups of 2 or more people. And when this is paired with active attention scores being much higher than non-premium, we can prove that there are more eyeballs on the ads and they are more engaged. Looking at the impact of ad types, we found that premium channels capture more attention across all ad formats, making them the most effective option for ad placement regardless of the ad type. That being said, non-skip ads placed around premium content stand out as the clear winner, achieving exceptionally high attention levels, with 71% of the ad being actively viewed. So what does that mean for brands in the real world and their ad campaigns? So during our fieldwork, we had the opportunity to observe this firsthand when a well-known QSR or fast food brand ran a campaign across various channel tiers. What we found was that premium channels performed the best in terms of active attention, with viewers staying engaged for an impressive 88% of the ad's duration. This was 20 percentage points higher than the lower tier, and clearly highlights how choosing the right environment can benefit brands. So, in summary, we found that premium channels drive 40% more active attention, and Vevo specifically 38% more attention amongst 18 to 34s. Premium content is watched in groups, and premium content holds the greatest attention across different ad types. And when this is combined with the results of our previous study with Channel 4, it creates a really compelling story. Placing advertising around premium content will improve engagement levels and campaign outcomes. So premium content really is the right environment for your brand. Thank you. And now I'm going to hand you over to Rich and our Q&A.
Thank you very much, Nav. So I'm Rich Brandt, Senior Director of Advanced TV Strategy and Partnerships here at Vevo. And I have an incredible lineup for you. Impressive cross-section of experience from the industry. So Flora Williams at the end there, Head of Planning at MG-OMD, but of OMD, Dentsu, Walker Media, so plenty of agency experience. Abul Noor, Head of ITV, YouTube sales, but previously of Channel 4, Sky and Publicist, so a bit of both there. And Nav, of course, who you've just met here at Vevo, but also experience of NBCU, 3 Mobile and Warner. So I'm just going to jump straight in. Flora, Omnicom, doing a lot around attention and particularly working with Amplified Intelligence, who we did this research with as well. So what's the key initiatives that Omnicom are taking to market?
So the biggest thing recently has been we've launched the TV Attention Panel in partnership with Amplified Intelligence. They're kind of powered by Amplified Intelligence's research. And it's a live panel. It's 1,000 homes in the UK. And we're able to look at active versus passive attention for lots of different information. So there's basically a panel where there are videos in the home, exactly the same methodology as previously. And we can understand the active attention of the different ad breaks to understand the different brand engagement, programming, day parting, positioning breaks. So really get into the granular information around it. So it's been really a game changer for us. delve into the detail.
And is that informing the way that you're informing the way you plan moving forward?
Yeah, it's really starting to build quite a lot of momentum now. At the moment, it's a linear TV panel. Over hopefully to the summer, it will be YouTube as well, and then into the later half of the year, it will include BVOD and SVOD, we hope. So it's starting to be a really granular resource for us to be able to get into. I mean, as a planning geek, I'm really enjoying it because you can look at flighting, you can look at discrete cover, you can look at when does attention plateau. I think for March, the biggest programme for active attention, which was for the ad break, was one of the Walter Presents shows on Channel 4. So there's some really interesting insights which we can dig into.
Yeah. And I suppose going to this research and the plethora of video out there, I suppose the begging question is, premium is in the eye of the beholder, surely. And, what's the thought process of some of the publishers out there and planners as well? And Abel, I'll throw it to you in terms of ITV.
Yeah, so look, premium, I think it's a subjective word, right? And I think it means something for different for everyone. But I think at the core of what we're doing, and I know a lot of premium publishers are doing, is having to think about how can we place some pillars around what premium means. So, Chris and Nav mentioned about editorial insight, editorial input, commissioning, high production qualities, adherence to regulatory measures, so Ofcom. That BARB definition of fit for TV, I think, is a really good starting point. So for us, we're taking those pillars and that broadcast DNA we have across broadcast and streaming and applying it into the world of YouTube. So, we of course have that YouTube audience in mind, but we're still trying to stay true to those thresholds that mean that content really sort of, lands and resonates at a premium level. And I think ultimately for us, that input at the front end of the process, that greater care, that greater quality, those high levels of audio and visual production, it's then unsurprising that the output we get for brands, the output we get in terms of viewer behaviour is consistently higher. Look, that doesn't happen by chance, and I think that's why we're embracing it.
Yeah. And I suppose on that point, really, premium content by BARB definition. Mm-hmm. We did see that additional attention, and I know we've had some anecdotal evidence and as well as the actual scientific evidence as well. Can you pull some of those out to kind of enrich it a little bit for the audience?
So the bit that you didn't see was the Channel 4 research that we did last year, and that showed that people who were watching premium content were more likely to be enjoying it. So they're more likely to kind of love what they're watching. And that automatically then kind of results in them saying that they were more attentive to it. They were just far more engaged. And then that kind of has that knock-on effect of if you're more engaged and you're more attentive, then you're going to kind of move those kind of brand outcomes as well, which is things like the brand consideration and recall and all of those things. So I think just kind of sitting back, we also found that they were 3 times more likely to be watching premium content on a TV screen. And so you're in that kind of relaxed, engaged kind of environment and mindset where you're much more open to seeing the ads that come up as well. So you're enjoying your content, you're more likely to enjoy the ads that are placed around them.
Yeah, and they are impressive stats, of course, but I think one thing that marketers are always desperate to kind of find out is yes, it's very well, yes, I can see the attention, but ultimately, am I getting return on investment from kind of singling out this type of content? Yeah. So can we link it in any way, shape or form? And is there any kind of examples of this happening in market?
Yeah. So we are working that kind of to kind of build that definitive link. But from what we can see from our research, like I said, that if people are kind of sitting back and they're enjoying their content more, and they are then more attentive because of that, and that results in those lifts that we've seen in those brand measures like ad recall, brand consideration, brand perceptions and associations. We can kind of say there is an obvious link that's going on there, that if you're more likely to be enjoying that content and you're more attentive to that content, and that same content is then resulting in those brand uplifts, that we can make that kind of that it's not much of a leap, to be fair, to be saying that. Yeah. I've been talking to Halion quite a lot recently. I was part of the attention forum at ICOM recently, and they work very kind of they're very, very involved in that. And I was talking to them, and they have actually started to kind of input attention targets into some of their brands. So they have multiple brands, and each brand will have a different attention target. And they're kind of putting that into their planning process. That obviously means that they are seeing those same lifts when they're hitting those targets.
Yeah. And I suppose actually, Flora, obviously you're building out this panel, and there's a kind of a relevance. Is it something you're finding as a call from your clients? And I suppose
yes,
yes, okay, good. And ultimately, are you seeing any kind of answers in terms of what we're seeing here?
So we're seeing correlations, is what I would say. I think that correlations versus causations, we're not quite there yet, but we're digging into it to try and understand the detail. What I would say with all attention is that I feel like, as planners, we've planned to attention for a long time, anecdotally, right? It's just that this time we have a metric to be able to quantify it, which brings us more into the way that we kind of plan in a digital age. So I feel like it's a powerful metric, but it's not the only thing that we should be focusing on. And it's a useful kind of reference point for us to plan. But I get slightly concerned that if we just plan to attention, we forget all the other intricacies of planning that are so important and rich. So, yes, we're working on it. I think it should become part of a measurement framework where it contributes as a factor to think about, but it shouldn't be the one only factor that we consider.
And I think what you're getting at there is in the planning process moving forward and picking up the nuances within YouTube rather than thinking of as one big scenario and not forgetting to brand versus the kind of long tail as well. And then Abel, just I suppose for ITV, obviously many big publishers now are moving into kind of a YouTube strategy in terms of distribution. ITV have kind of joined that fold very recently, and I suppose in your illustrious history with broadcasters and so on like that, there's always been YouTube at arm's length. What's kind of tipped the balance in terms of that scenario?
Yeah, look, I think there's a couple of factors at play here. So I think YouTube as a platform, as every platform does, particularly a successful one, has evolved and matured over time. Some really great analysis from Enders back in the last year, October 2024, which essentially showed that brands are increasingly using YouTube for more brand awareness and consideration pieces, that upper end of that funnel. Brands are shifting towards that because of that user behavior, moving more towards spending more time on YouTube, consuming it in a different way. That video of my trip to the zoo compared to, what you get on there now is obviously hugely different. So I think there's a piece there about audience behavior and sort of aligning with that and understanding that, moving with that, which obviously we as a premium publisher have always done so. I think the second part of it is, us being willing to test and learn. So we are putting more sort of full episodes up there. We are featuring more of our content up there. And I think at the heart of that is very much allowing people to discover ITV content when and where they want. So if people are on the YouTube platform and we don't have ITV content on there, they're never going to be able to discover it. People that may have never watched Love Island or found a great clip from Anton Deck. So I think it's about enabling people to view content on their terms, and YouTube is shifting more and more towards connected TV, towards more of that lean back environment in the living room. And I think we need to be cognizant of that and reflect that in how we distribute our content.
Yeah. And I think that obviously, I don't know, it's not hugely public knowledge in terms of kind of the restructuring of Google and incentives they've given in terms of investment. They're now the ability to work with an ITV or a Channel 4 or a Vevo in terms of direct investment contributing to overall Google investments. To your point, Flora, in terms of, yes, I can do the branding and I can do the long tail and it's all part of the same funding. So is that kind of taking barriers away from that planning process around that YouTube scenario?
I think the bigger factor for us as planners and buyers is that suddenly there's slightly more fragmentation, right? So it's the same content in more places. So you've given us an extra job, basically, to try and navigate. I know. No, it's useful because it creates an opportunity, right, to reach new audiences and be able to ultimately tap into different contexts and audiences. But it does then create the challenge of how do you plan most efficiently when the content is the same, but the viewing experience is slightly different and the people are slightly different. So it's a planning challenge, but I think that it's a great opportunity at the same time.
Yeah, sure. And I suppose the last question is, is YouTube part of TV? Is it part of the TV ecosystem? Is it, part of connected TV, which has obviously been doing the rounds for a while now? And therefore, what is the best way to construct a TV campaign these days? From your point of view, and I suppose from your point as a broadcaster in terms of how you do that. So, Flora, please just carry on.
So at Omnicom, we speak about our unified video approach, which is how we talk about holistic AV, basically. And online video and YouTube is definitely a big part of that. We also stretch it into social. So we're taking a very holistic video view, but we factor in lots of different things like attention or trust or screen size. It's a multi-layered custom approach based on every client, the brand values, the audience who we want to reach, and the context which are going to drive the most impact. So it's a custom approach. And I think that's the great thing about video and unified video is that we have such a plethora of opportunity. It's about creating curated plans to make it work as best as possible.
Yeah. And just from a final kind of word, really, just in terms of broadcasters and how they're approaching to this, what is the kind of expectation from your buyers in terms of accessing ITV these days?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's kind of piggybacking on what Flora said. There's brands that are going to be using YouTube in different ways. But for us as a broadcaster, I mean, coming back to the idea of we do think we're going to deliver what we deliver on broadcast, what we deliver on streaming. There's really impactful brand awareness and consideration pieces. The way we're moving into YouTube, the space we're in now, over half our watch time, significantly over half our watch time is on connected TV. Our average view durations are higher. The output of our content, so our full episodes, our long form is increasing by the day. So we're very much thinking about it as a new distribution platform as part of our ecosystem, in a similar way that streaming was launched, years ago. So I think it's us working with Flora, with the planning teams, with brands, understanding what the objectives are, and really then having to think about what the makeup of that planning should be. And obviously in this day and age, that includes YouTube now in a way that perhaps it didn't, 5 years ago. So I think that's where it fits for us as another tool in our ecosystem to deliver those campaign parameters.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much to Nav, Abel, and Flora, and please round of applause.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Rich.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Uncommon Thinking. For more podcasts like this one, including AW360, Advertising Week's longest-running podcast series, now in its 11th year, head over to www.advertisingweek.com/podcasts or search Advertising Week on your podcast platform of choice. Thanks for listening.